All right, everyone, welcome. Can you hear me? I'm good. I'm live? Okay, great. Well, welcome. My name is Gail Winans. I think that you are all here for the session on exercise and nutrition. I'm a brain tumor survivor and also a volunteer at ABTA. This is my first go around, so welcome to the breakout session. This is going to be a great conversation about adopting a healthy lifestyle and how that can help patients improve their quality of life. It's an active session, and it will discuss lifestyle and dietary therapies to promote physical and mental well-being. We have two speakers joining us today. The first is Dr. Lizzie Bohorfoush, who is a doctor of physical therapy and a trained manual therapist. She has been in practice for over 20 years and brings a wealth of knowledge, experience, and compassion to her position at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, Supportive Care and Survivorship Clinic. Lizzie plays a pivotal role in helping patients optimize their physical function, manage symptoms, and enhance their quality of life. Her holistic approach to physical rehabilitation and patient-centered care make her a trusted partner in the healthcare community. And then joining Dr. Lizzie Bohorfoush is LJ Amaral. LJ is a PhD student at Cedars, Sinai, further researching the effects of nutrition and lifestyle on cancer. LJ attended the University of Connecticut and obtained a Bachelor of Science from New York University and a Master of Science. From 2015 to August of 24, LJ worked as an oncology dietitian and conducted research looking at nutritional interventions for brain tumor patients. So we're in very good hands this afternoon. So please welcome our speakers, and Lizzie's going to go first.
Hey y'all, how are you doing today? This is gonna be very interactive, so I'm glad you had lunch and everybody's in the slump of, wanting to go to sleep after this. So we're gonna get up and we're gonna get moving in a little bit. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I love working with patients and encouraging and cheering on. I don't know if you know, like physical therapists are like crazy cheerleaders. Like we're the ones that say like, do as I say. And we have all of the little sayings that we do all day. So just kind of bear with me. I'm going to kind of be all over the place with you guys because I don't really like to be up here very much. So we'll get started. I'm not anything with that. So objectives, this is very simple today. We're really talking about our healthy lifestyle. How do we get there? How do we start it? What do we do? Talking about, and it's not we're going to just go through kind of like from the beginning a little bit, very simply, discussing the benefits of physical activity, and then we're going to work on a program. We're going to get to that really quickly. All right. Question, how have you guys moved today? Talking about movement. This is going to be, I want you guys that we're engaging too, so tell me a little bit. How have you moved today? There you go. Chair yoga. I was there with y'all. Very awesome. There you go. Good job. That's amazing. You walked here? So wonderful. You guys have amazing things that you're doing. You're walking, you're moving. The movement can be defined as so many different things, from bending to washing dishes to going up and down stairs. It doesn't have to be, there's a huge gamut from walking and doing the activity around your house, doing your daily living things like taking care of your kids, folding your clothes, washing dishes, all of those things, all the way to marathons and CrossFit, right? And a lot of times my patients go through this time, we're like, yeah, I'm not here. I don't have time to go to the gym. I work a full day and I get home at 7 o'clock at night. What am I going to do all day? I have no time for anything. Or they're in the middle of, they've been through their treatment and they're exhausted. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Some of the benefits of activity. I know you guys all know a lot of these things, but seeing them in person, seeing them up here, any form of activity that we do when we're moving more and sitting less, we're getting benefits of some physical activity from, of course, fatigue, treatment tolerance, decrease overall symptom burden. That's a big one. Improved cognitive function. I know the other day we had the neuropsychologist talk about how exercise improves your cognitive function. Sleep, it helps with your circadian rhythm if we can get moving and in the rhythm that we need to with our daily life. Lymphatic function, swelling. When you're moving, your muscles are contracting and they're milking fluid out. They're milking it back up into the lymph system, but they're having to go against gravity. So that's what's important with the movement. You're milking it back up. A big one is reducing systemic inflammation. And then, of course, anxiety and depression. That's a huge one. Increasing endorphins, helping us to feel better. You know, the more you do, the more activity you do, the better you feel usually. Fatigue. That's a huge one. A lot of my patients really deal with fatigue. So, you know, the difference between fatigue, my patients and we always are talking about the difference between I am exhausted, but it's because I just did I did treatment, and we talk about, hey, you need a nap. Would that help to get you back feeling better? Or actually the lack of activity and the desire to want to be active, and that during your treatment journey. And with fatigue, it's so hard to break that cycle of moving. Sometimes my patients and I would talk about the fact that we're on like a wheel and with your fatigue level, and you can't get off of that wheel. But if you can take a step off, do one little thing, it kind of starts to break that cycle of fatigue. So working through that. But so many times patients are like, yeah, I really want to do that. It sounds like a great idea, but I'm exhausted. When we're working with activity, just movement and activity, a lot of times people will kind of work with this, and when I'm with my patients, trying to figure out what we're going to do during the day, having one little specific activity that we're going to do. You can prioritizing the activity you need to do today. Hey, I've got to be able to take the kids to their school and do the dishes and do all these different things and go to work, whatever. Being able to prioritize what you actually need to do for that day is having the logically put that out there for you. A lot of times my patients will have it in a notebook, kind of working through their notebook of prioritizing what they need to do for the day. Then make a plan for how you're going to do it. Set goals and be aware of what you're capable of doing. In setting goals, we like to do goals that are so easily attainable, like little bitty things. When you've been diagnosed and you've gone through the trauma of the diagnosis, and then you're living your life, having goals that you make for yourself that are that you can easily do. Success. We all want to have some successes in life, right? Nobody wants to fail all the time. So if we can create some successes through little goals that are attainable, it makes life a lot easier. And then we're going to pace ourselves. You break down the complex activities. You don't want to burn out with your activities at first. Trying many exercises in active sessions throughout the day is really huge. We like to call them snacks throughout the day. A lot of my patients, we talk about either on your watch or your phone, setting aside 1 hour, when you put your alarm on for every hour, and do one exercise, one little thing, 30 seconds. It can be 30 seconds of activity. But if you're doing one little thing every hour, it starts to build up so that you can then have the ability to have some good foundation to then be able to move on to more exercise and activity. So that's a lot of the times with my patients, how we kind of work through a lot of those issues with movement and activity. And the biggest thing that I could say is give yourself grace in this working with exercise and trying new things, but trying to implement it and create a healthy lifestyle. We've got to celebrate the successes and give ourselves grace for every little thing that we do. And I know that on Instagram and in all of the you're always getting social media, you're getting different ways of like 5 things to do to get better, 5 ways that we can do this. And so everybody is always like, I have no idea what I need to do to just start the process of getting better or getting into movement and being active and starting a healthy lifestyle. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bitty exercise program. We've got 6 exercises. These exercises that we're going to do, they're ones that with my patients, they're the ones that I give first, and I talk through them and how we do them and the reason why we're doing them. Because a lot of times you'll go to a physical therapist or a trainer or somebody, and they're like, you need to do this exercise, and this exercise, but they actually don't tell you why and what it actually does to make you feel better. So that's what we're going to do today. These are, I like to say, they're at the kindergarten level right here, but they're things that you can implement and put into your daily life. You can do them all throughout the day in those little snack bites if you want to, or all at once. So, all right, this is where it gets fun. Everybody, get ready. We're going to be active now. We got to get our juices flowing. This one, everybody has been talking about breathing. So breathing is important. Oxygen is important for us, right? And I know that we just went to a lot of you guys went with me to the session on survivorship, and we were talking about box breathing. This is actually, I love to look at this one and think about this in my head whenever I'm doing it. But you're going to sit down, and as you're breathing, your stomach's going to go out. You take a deep breath for 4 seconds. No, you take a deep breath in for 4 seconds. I'm sorry. And then you hold it for 4 seconds. And then you breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds. And then you hold that for 4 seconds. Let's do that 3 times. One more time. Perfect. That is the easiest thing to do. You can do it sitting in your doctor's office when you're about to be go in for something hard, go for a hard appointment. Breathing helps to decrease your anxiety. It helps to, if you're in pain, when our body is in pain or we're nauseous or we're stressed, we tense up. And so if we can, and so the muscles get tensed, right? So if we can just start to breathe and relax our body, think about the breathing, it will help us to get the blood flowing so that as we relax, we get our blood flowing, we get oxygen flowing, and then those deep breaths help to relax our whole body and our heart rate to relax. So that's the first one, and it can be done anywhere, anytime. The second one, all right, it's time to get up. We're going to sit to stand. This is so important for getting out of a chair, getting out of a car, getting off of a low sofa somebody has, anything that you have this is a key movement for independence, right? So what we're going to do is when you do this, you're going to tap your chair and stand straight up, squeeze your butt, engage your glutes, and then you're going to sit back down and then tap up, squeeze, and then go back down. So do 10 of them for me, all the way down if you can. If your knees can't do it, it's totally fine. Engage your glutes. Good. You got it. You got it. You're getting there. You're great. Wonderful. What we're doing, our glutes, our butt is our big muscle. We've got to keep our glutes strong. If your glutes get weak, you start doing this and walking like this. So squeezing those glutes, those are your extenders. So we want to keep those guys going. All right, you guys, you've done like more than 10. But sorry. But do it, but super simple. You just do this when you set an alarm once an hour. You're watching your TV show, you get up and you do 10 of those, or you're at work and in between you just set your alarm and do 10 sit to stands, okay? Next one. Let's do the next one. Knee extension. This is super simple, but so important, okay, guys? We're going to sit back in the chair, so your bottom is all the way back to the back of the chair, okay? And then you're going to bring your toes, you're going to flex your toes so they're pointing up like that, okay? Then one at a time, you're going to extend up and then slowly back down. Extend up and slowly back down. Do 10 of them for me. And then at the end of 10, you hold it for 10 seconds. Now, a lot of people aren't able to do a full extension because their hamstrings are super tight from sitting. A lot of times whenever we have like this super active lifestyle and then we become sedentary, right? Because of everything. And so our hamstrings get super tight. They get real achy a lot of times if you try and lay down at night. So we're trying to engage our quad muscle and stretch our hamstring, but also strengthen up our quad muscle. The quad muscle is important for going up and down stairs. You know, when you start getting too weak to go downstairs, it's because these quad muscles you've lost a lot of them. Quad muscles also are, if there's any swelling in your knees, your quads are the first thing to go. You start to lose the muscle in your quads the quickest. But those are the ones that help you in standing and in walking to be able to have the ground reaction forces and the strength to be able to continue walking. Okay, let's go to our next one. Okay, who gets pain between their shoulder blades? Right here sometimes. Anybody? And neck pain right here. This is an epidemic of cell phones and computers and lazy boys. Oh my goodness, lazy boys. That's like that commercial wherever the people like fall into the sofa, you know, they get eaten by the sofa. I feel like that's what a lazy boy does. But so when I'm the posture police at home. And so as everybody starts to sit up straight and tall, your posture is so important. So what we want to do with this one is we're working on sitting up straight and tall. These muscles between our shoulder blades, when we have this forward head, rounded shoulders posture, those muscles between our shoulder blades that are holding everything together are like this. And so then that's when you start having that pain between the shoulder blades a lot of times. So anytime you're getting that, if you're working on the computer, if you're sitting a whole bunch, you're going to do the W stretch. You're going to put your hands up like this. Good. We're going to go back, elbows down like that. So you're like elbowing somebody. So you're engaging your lats, and then you're squeezing your shoulder blades together. So we're sticking the chest out. Sorry. And you're going to feel the engagement of your lower lats, your lower traps right here, and your lat muscles right here. And so squeeze and then relax. Good. So pushing back and down. Good. That's it right there. Good job. So you're engaging your muscles. I saw you like, woo. So throughout your day, when you're at work, or you're at the computer, if you're sitting down watching TV and you're like, oh, I'm feeling so tight, let's do this stretch like this. Squeeze our shoulder blades and bring our hands up like this, like hands up. Because what that's doing is that's creating external rotation. We're stretching our chest muscles here. We're stretching our internal rotators that are in our armpit. That also can make the pain happen right here on your back from this muscle right here called your subscap. It does this. So if you see everybody walking around now, we walk around with our hands like this. If you look at the anatomical man, we're supposed to be standing more like this every day. So we're too internally rotated. So pushing your hands back, stretching those internal rotators, and your chest muscles will help with a lot of that. And it'll help you to sit up straight and tall too, right? And we want to keep our head back. Good job. Our head, if we're right here, that's like our head, what does it weigh? Like 10 pounds? But if you have it here, that's like 25 pounds of weight right here where a lot of people get pain. So we want to have some really good posture. Everybody's going to walk out of this with the best posture. It's going to make me so happy. All right, next one for me. Hamstring stretches. Okay, everybody stand up with me. We'll do this one first. If you're able to, this is a great way to stretch your hamstrings. Who has back pain in here? All right, if you get back pain across your low back, That is from your hamstrings, usually. For the most part, if it's a musculoskeletal thing, it's going to be from hamstring tightness, from sitting a lot, right? A lot of people will have the no butt disease, and that's because their hamstrings get really tight, and we get pressure all right here. So what we're going to do is you put your hands out like this. Good. You're going to grab a hold of your chair. I'm so sorry. Grab a hold of your chair. Keep your knees straight. Good. I'm going to pull you forward a little bit right there. And then you're going to lean forward a little bit. Can you bend a little bit? Yeah, bend a little bit. There you go. Good. You'll feel the stretch. You can feel it in your lats, too, if you do it sometimes, if your arms are way stretched out. Good. And just breathe. Good. You can feel that stretch through your legs. Do you feel it in your legs? Good. Getting a good stretch that way. This is a wonderful way to just, if you're sitting a lot, sitting all day, if you're at the computer or something like that, just doing this stretch can help you. Do you feel that stretch?
Am I supposed to be down more?
Yeah, go down a little bit more. Good job. Okay, good. All right, let's get back up and sit down for a second. The other way we can do that is if you're not allowed to stand up a whole bunch at work or something like that, or you want to do it more incognito. We did this a little bit in our yoga class earlier, but you're going to put your legs straight out, and you're going to flex your toes up to the sky. Good. And then with a straight back, so pretend like our back is straight, we're going to lean forward just like this. Good. And you can feel the stretch through the leg, the hamstring. Great. And if you'll do both sides, that will help so much with that back pain or those legs that get achy at night because you've been bent all day. So then you try and lay down at night and your back's like, and your legs are like, what the heck? So that's one. Okay, the last one. This is the stretch. Does anybody in here have you had pain on either side of your hip bones in your SI joints? Or a toothache in your butt cheek, or the pain that goes down your leg on one side? That is usually from hip flexor tightness. Our hip flexors do this, and they do this, right? If you're right hand dominant, a lot of times it'll be the right side, and it'll be that thing where you're like, oh my gosh, and then that pain right there. So the hip flexors get tight because we're sitting all day. Hip flexors literally look like a pork tenderloin, and you've got two of them. And they go from L3, L4, L5, and they come around and they attach right here, okay? So what we're doing is we're stretching those muscles. It gets our pelvis into alignment. I know people have heard of that, getting your pelvis into alignment. Your pelvis is mobile, okay? And so one side gets tight, and it pulls the pelvis this way, and then it'll give you that shearing in the SI joint, the toothache in your butt cheek when your piriformis is tight, and then sometimes the pain down the leg. So to stretch that, we'll do it sitting first since we're already sitting, most of us. We're going to sit on the chair, kind of like lunging on your chair. You got to get sideways for this one. Good. Put that leg backwards. Yeah. Bend this one at 90 degrees for me. 90 degrees, bend more, bend there. Now, with that leg, with your back leg, you're going to tuck your pelvis, okay? This is a hard one. Everybody has a lot of trouble with this. We're going to tuck our pelvis and squeeze our butt cheek. When you're standing, this is might be easier standing for some people. So tuck your pelvis, squeeze your butt. You'll feel the stretch in the front of the muscle. That's your hip flexor that's tight. You feel it? Good. Stand on up, everybody. Let's do it standing. And then I want you to feel the difference between each one, okay? So start off with your right one. Most people are right hand dominant, so we'll try this one first. Everybody, right leg back, left leg forward. You're going to tuck your pelvis, almost like you're being punched in the stomach, like that old school Batman, like kapowie. So you tuck your pelvis. Squeeze your butt cheek, the butt cheek of the back leg, right? And you should feel the stretch through the front of the hip. That's your hip flexor. Now turn around and do the other side for me. Let's see if there's one one is worse than the other, okay? So now tuck your pelvis, kaplowy. Squeeze your butt cheek. Which one is tighter when you were doing it? Which one was tighter? Right. Yes. Because we're mostly right hand dominant. We step up, we do everything with our right side. And that's where you're going to be more susceptible to getting some sciatica or piriformis pain. So these are very simple, very easy little exercises. But what they do is they help to give you some authority, right? A lot of my patients will come in and they're like, I've got back pain. It's come back. Cancer's everywhere now. And I'm like, no, because it's so common. So I love to give my patients the why and the how so that you have some authority over this stuff, that your back pain is actually because these hamstrings are tight, that your shoulder pain is actually because everything's pulling you forward. So hopefully a few of these little exercises have given you a little bit of information so that you guys can go home and you can kind of maybe put them on your phone or set it up so that once an hour you do one of these exercises and it gets some blood flowing through your body. How does everybody feel? Don't we feel a little better? We've got blood flowing. Our muscles are feeling looser. It's a great way to start from the bottom level to get you to a place where you can go out and walk 30 minutes later on down the road. But a lot of times it starts with just these little snack bites. Everything else is too big to do, right? But we can do these little things throughout our day to try and get to that place of incorporating all of these things to make it a healthy lifestyle overall. So we're going to do questions at the end. I'm going to help LJ with hers. You're amazing.
Now that you guys are awake and limber, we'll go right into the nitty gritty. I'm kidding. Okay, if this will work. Thank you everyone for being here. My name is LJ Amaral. I've been a cancer dietitian working with brain tumors since 2015 at Cedars Sinai in Los Angeles. And I have a few clinical trials that are open and we could talk about those at the end. These are my disclosures. And our objectives for today, we're going to discuss the importance of diet. Lizzie went over lifestyle pretty much, and I thought that was amazing, so thank you. And how diet can actually affect your entire well-being. We're going to go over evidence-based recommendations for how you can incorporate foods to also help fight your cancer, and then ways that we can start doing this at a small level. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions that come up during the talk. Just raise your hand. I'll repeat them on the microphone for anybody who's online, but you can ask any questions at any time. So why does nutrition matter? Depending on where you live or who your oncologist is, they might tell you that it doesn't matter and you can eat whatever you want. And I love that they have that grace and compassion, and I think that's important. And what we eat does matter, and it does have an influence on our cells, our brain chemistry, how we feel, our mood, just like Lizzie was saying with movement. It does matter, and it works at a cellular level, and we'll go over that in a little bit. So especially if you're going through cancer treatment, there are specific macronutrients that are really important to help rebuild your cells and make sure that they come back healthy and normal. We want to also make sure that what you're eating does have some nutritional value, right? So we are rebuilding your cells. We're giving you the vitamins and minerals that you need to make sure that your cells and enzymes are working, and also to prevent any infections so that you feel well throughout your treatment. It does change your mood. I know that saying is, you are what you eat, and that can be kind of like a really difficult wheel, kind of like what Lizzie was saying too. It's a really difficult cycle to break, especially if you don't feel good and you're going through treatment or you're on dexamethasone and you're really craving carbs and sweets because that's what steroids do. So sometimes you kind of have to fight your own biology and help yourself. There are studies that show that if you eat well and certain types of foods can help your body to fight or make it more sensitized to chemotherapy or radiation, and it does help increase your recovery and feelings of well-being. So what are some concrete things that I've told patients over the last 10 years that are evidence-based? These are foods that are directly interacting with your neurochemistry and the building blocks of your body, your cells. So walnuts, as you see pictured here, literally look like little brains, and that's because they do help your brain and your brain function. So sometimes, if you don't love them, maybe throw them in a salad, or if you put them in water overnight and you blend them, it really hides it in a smoothie. But they're really great sources of protein, fiber, and omega-3 fatty acids. I love the acronym SMASHED fish. Those are the ones that are the richest in omega-3 fatty acids, so those healthy fats that are also going to help with your brain. So those are listed here. We have blueberries that have the anthocyanins and polyphenols that can help improve your cognitive function. We have vitamin D rich foods, so depending on where you live, you might not get, or if you're going through radiation, you probably don't want to be in the sun. So trying to avoid the sun by getting vitamin D through food, which is also kind of difficult. There aren't a lot of foods that are rich in vitamin D. There are mushrooms that are fortified from the sun. Fortified products like orange juice now has vitamin D. A lot of dairy products, of course, have added vitamin D. Salmon has some vitamin D, especially if it's canned. Or if you haven't gotten your levels checked in a few years, you might want to ask and get them checked and then supplement as necessary. Medium chain triglyceride comes in quite a bit, especially if you're doing something like keto or low carb, or it's been tied to improved cognitive function. And that's because it is a smaller chain of fatty acids. So most of the fatty acids that we eat are considered long chain. With medium chain, it requires no enzymes to break it down. It goes straight into the portal vein and creates ketone bodies, which is a different form of energy that our body can use. There's glucose, there's ketones. You can also use protein intermediates to recreate glucose and create more energy for your body. If you're struggling with adding weight or adding calories and you're having your doctor telling you that you need to add more calories to your diet, this is an easy way because it's flavorless and it's about 100 calories per tablespoon, which is typical for any sort of oil. So what are more superfoods for the brain? Be careful with green tea, of course. Too much, it can have an effect with your clotting, vitamin K, and depending on if you're on radiation, you probably don't want to have more than 2 cups per day because it is a very powerful antioxidant. And I know that comes up quite a bit. You don't want to take antioxidants during radiation. Coming through food, it's different. You're not going to overdose on antioxidants coming through food, but sometimes, especially in the form of tea like matcha, you don't want to have too much of it. Yes, egg yolks. Yes, egg yolks. Egg yolks. Yes, they're our friends. You don't have to just eat the egg white, even though that's been around for the last 40 years now, I guess, or maybe 50. We have debunked that myth that egg yolks cause high cholesterol unless you have hypercholesterolemia through your family, which you should be on a statin for anyway. But actually, when you eat cholesterol coming through your foods like egg yolks, it tells your body, hey, I have enough. I don't need to synthesize more. And it is very rich in choline, which is a precursor for your neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. We've got avocados, pepitas, and dark chocolate. Those are great sources of magnesium. Magnesium is used for your muscles and your brain function and helping your enzymes to work properly. We've got red and orange plants. So anything that's red or orange, that gives you some vitamin A, some retinol, and that's a potent signaling molecule for your brain. Go for it. Oh, great question. It's it's like a green seed. It's a pumpkin seed. Sorry. Not like the white pumpkin seeds, though. You know what I'm talking about? Like the green ones? Yeah, great question. Yeah, go for it. Some. We're going to go over that for sure. Yeah. But if you do choose dark chocolate, go for the higher percentage, like 75% or above. It has very little sugar in that, but we'll talk about sugar and the link of cancer too. And then Brazil nuts. which I know is very random. But eating 2 or 3 of them will give you your entire dose of selenium for the day. And selenium helps to create an endogenous antioxidant. And antioxidants help your body to reduce any damage that can happen, whether you're on cancer treatment or radiation. That's normal. We want some of that quote unquote oxidative stress. But sometimes too much is what makes you feel really tired. And so it kind of helps to balance your body's chemistry out. So how does hydration play a role in all of this too? I really like this visual because when we're dehydrated, our blood becomes very thick and very viscous. So I like to use the example of like molasses or like even maple syrup, I think is like a little bit too thin. If you're really dehydrated, it takes so much more effort for your body and your heart to pump that blood around. And that makes you also feel more tired. It takes a little bit of a toll on your kidneys, your liver, because we want to be able to flush your whole body out, especially if you're on medications. So hydration is really important, not only because the doctor is telling you to drink a lot of water, but it also helps you to feel better and makes your whole system work at a better way. I love this visual. I'm not sure if it's very clear, but it's free on the AICR, the American Institute for Cancer Research, and these are called cancer fighters in your food. So it goes over all different types of foods and all of the different types of phytonutrients or compounds that are within these foods and how it can directly affect your cancer. So for instance, if I'm reading off the top label with apples, they have a lot of flavonoids, and flavonoids can slow the development of different types of cancers in several different stages of development. So I know this isn't necessarily pertinent to brain tumors in general, but it is pertinent to cancer cells, and there are many ways in which you can help fight your cancer through your foods. Another visual of that, just another list. We got walnuts, don't forget. And if you don't want to think about, this laundry list of the things of, the different types of phytonutrients or compounds that are within your food, I would encourage you to focus on color. So really, I'm not asking you to eat 7 different colored vegetables every single day. That's also very expensive in this economy. But I'm thinking if you can focus on 1 or 2 different colors per day and not just having, greens every single day. I got that all the time. Should I just eat greens? Well, yeah, greens are great, but they're only going to provide you with a few different types of vitamins and minerals, right? So if we want to get a variety of different plants, we're also getting more prebiotics for our gut bacteria as well. Prebiotics are like the mulch, and probiotics are the flowers, if you want to think about that. And that also has a really big effect on our brain chemistry and how we feel. Kumquat. They're like small little oranges. You can have like any sort of orange. These are just examples of different types of colors. And I was trying to be, maybe it's more regional because I'm from California. There are a lot of kumquats. They're very delicious. You can find them on trees pretty much everywhere. But any sort of orange will give you that. Go ahead. Emily is saying, yes, this will be on the website. Yeah, no problem. All right, great questions. So what about protein? So this gets talked about all the time as well. Proteins are the building blocks of our cells, right? So a lot of people have a misconception that as we age, we have lesser or lower protein needs, and that's actually not true. Especially if we're going through treatment, we have a higher rate of cell turnover. Plus, we want to maintain our lean body mass and our muscles, right? Because that also makes us feel good. So protein is directly affected with that. So in terms of red meat, because I get that all the time as well, the American Institute for Cancer Research says that up to 16 or 18 ounces of red meat per week is actually completely fine. And they are the number 1 cancer research nonprofit in the United States. What they do recommend is that you avoid processed red meats like deli meats, hot dogs, bacon, salami, those you want to limit or try to avoid. And if you are eating red meat, or rather any animal-based product, you don't want to char it. That's really where it gets a bad rep, essentially, because when you char, especially meat, or you're grilling it, it drips down into the flame, that increases the heat, and then it changes the amines in animal-based products, and it becomes a carcinogen. In terms of protein recommendations, go for it. Exactly. Yep. Any sort of like animal-based product has the ability to do that if you're tarring it. Thank you. For recommendations, what is a recommended goal for you? I also don't necessarily encourage people to track their foods unless it's something that would make them feel better. But most of the time, I feel like it gives people more anxiety and it becomes like a perfectionistic thing, and I don't think that's super healthy. But in terms of protein, take your body weight in pounds. I use the hashtag sign. And then you're going to multiply it by 0.5 to get your recommended grams of protein per day. In terms of healthy fats, oh, go ahead. It's a good question. I recommend protein shakes if getting protein is difficult or getting in calories or nutrition is difficult. I think for a lot of people, it can be a very easy tool. And there are obviously some that are better than others. So you want to be mindful, of course, of like the different ingredients and the different types of protein goals, because there are some that are out there that'll say keto, but it'll be like 8 grams of protein. You're like, okay, I just drank this whole thing and I got 8 grams of protein. So be mindful of it, and see. And we're going to go over like added sugars versus total sugars and those kinds of things. And that's something I would also look out for. Go for it. Same thing. Yep. So you just don't want to have anything like blackened. You can still like pan sear it, or like slow cooking it is probably like the best way to cook any sort of animal-based product that has like the lower heat, or not exposing it to the direct flame. Yep. Only for animal-based products. Like vegetables, plant-based, doesn't have the same effect. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, blackened and charred, kind of the same thing. Yeah, but not the same for plants or plant-based sources. All right, healthy fats. So there are some that are better than others. So kind of going back to the egg yolks, saturated fats do have an effect on our cholesterol. So those are the ones that we really want to limit or avoid. So those are like whole milk yogurt or whole milk. Red meat has quite a bit of saturated fat. So healthy fats, the ones that we like are the ones that have a lot of omega-3s, and we want to have a balance between omega-3s and omega-6s or omega-9s, because some of them are more inflammatory than others, but we do have a balance, right? So it's not to say that you can't have any oils that have omega-6s or omega-9s. We just want to have more of the omega-3s because they are more anti-inflammatory. So these are some examples of what those look like. And the pepitas are pumpkin seeds, and I'll include that next time. Okay, so what about sugar? I get this every day of my life. So for sugar, everyone in America needs to start limiting their sugar. We have way too much sugar in our diet. It's in everything. It's in bread. It's in commercial-based products of any sort, like salad dressing. Bread has an insane amount of sugar as well. So if we're looking at this label, so I tried to highlight here. So we have sugar. This was the old label, and it would just include everything. Now we have this new label where we have total sugars versus added sugars. So for instance, if we're looking at a milk-based product like a yogurt, there's going to be some natural sugars that are occurring. But there's also going to be added sugars if we're having a yogurt that has fruit at the bottom of the cup, because that's the added sugar. So for Americans, we want to limit our sugar intake as much as possible, and we'll go over what that looks like. But for men, we're looking at 36 grams of sugar per day, and women, 25 grams of sugar per day. And we'll go over this in detail. So we want to focus on the added sugars as much as possible. Natural sugars are not necessarily a problem unless we have diabetes or an excess of glucose, and maybe we want to limit some of the natural sugars as well, or pair them with a healthy fat or a protein to blunt the response of the sugar. And then sugar substitutes, because this also comes up, I like to encourage patients to use sugar substitutes as if it was sugar. It's not necessarily a free food, and I don't think that we should be eating them in excess either. And so trying to limit that intake as well, because research is still coming out and we still don't know, but there's no such thing as like a free food, right? Unless it's like ice. So we just have to be careful and be mindful of that. Go for it. Yes. So honey is considered an added sugar. It's metabolized the exact same as sugar. I'd say, of course, there are some different properties of honey, right? Like it has propolis, which is also, it's supposed to help decrease like bacteria and microorganisms. And in some cultures, it's very medicinal, but it would be included in that limiting of added sugars. So 25 grams for women and 36 grams per day for men. Great question. Emily. Yeah, I think honestly, so yes, it's made from a plant. It kind of goes in the same context, though, for me with the sugar substitutes. I also think a lot of people are very sensitive to it because it has a very strong aftertaste, and that can be really unpleasant. And like, if you're not feeling good from treatment and you have something and it lingers in your mouth the whole day, it's not the best. So I would actually favor like honey, or a little bit of like sugar or fruit sugar versus stevia if it's making you nauseated or not feeling well. Is it bad for you? The judge and jury is out, but the studies that have come out are saying that it's not necessarily bad for you. It's generally recognized as safe grass. Allulose? Oh my gosh, yeah. Allulose is extremely fascinating because there are a lot of studies that show it can bind to the glucose receptors, right, and actually decrease the glucose that's circulating in your bloodstream. I think that we're really far away from making any claims, though, and those studies they've been done in Japan. I think that we have to have bigger studies with more people to see what the effects are. I personally like it, though, and I'll use it, but it's the same thing with like, use it as a sugar substitute and not something you want to eat or have every single day sort of thing. Allulose is Allulose. Go for it. Yeah, monk fruit, I would say same sort of category with all the sugar substitutes. I wouldn't say that there's one that's necessarily better than others. A lot of the studies, though, that are coming out, the problem with monk fruit, and especially in America, is that it's cut with erythritol, right? And that's kind of where the problem lies. There's a lot of studies coming out that erythritol is a problem. I will tell you, though, being in research, there's a lot of problems with the study design. So I'm not sure that those claims are actually true. We've used the ketogenic diet for over 100 years for children with epilepsy, and we typically use things like monk fruit and erythritol. The thing is that I think, again, people are using it in excess, and that's the issue. Erythritol is not a free food, and if you're doing keto, it's not carb-free. It actually does have a little bit of carbs in it, and so you do have to be mindful of that. So, again, it's something that if you are trying to limit your sugar intake and you wanted to use a sugar substitute and you're using it sparingly, I don't see any problem with it. Sorry, there's a lot going on. The whole orange is going to be better than the orange juice because if you're juicing something, you're stripping it from the fiber, and fiber is what helps to blunt the response of glucose. In the back. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And then over here. Yes, maple syrup would be considered. Uh-huh. So this is a great example. Look at the label for me. What does it say for total versus added sugars for this aloe juice with no added sugar? You can barely see that. Okay. Yep, precisely. Even if it's like a green juice, it still has that effect on your blood sugars. But again, if we're pairing it, right? So if you did want to have, let's say you were struggling to get your vegetables in and you wanted to have a juice, smoothie, of course, would be the best option because you're blending the whole food. But if you did strip the fiber and you had the juice, if you paired it with like a healthy fat or a high fiber meal, it would blunt the response of the glucose and you wouldn't spike. All right, I'm gonna blow through these next few slides. So these are some examples, again, of what added sugars look like and how much added sugars per day we wanna have. So in a Coca-Cola can, there's 39 grams of sugar, and you can see the difference here. The total sugars and added sugars are the exact same. So we know that that's something that we wanna try to avoid. Okay, to keto or not to keto? That is really the question, right? So I've actually been doing studies on ketogenic diets for CNS malignancies since 2015. I got an R01 grant from the NCI, National Cancer Institute, and then National Institute of Health last year to look at this question in particular. So we had a phase 1 study. That means we were looking at the feasibility of the study. So we were looking at patients with newly diagnosed glioblastoma before they started primary chemo radiation, and whether or not the ketogenic diet helped them or made them feel better, or if they could actually do this and adhere to the diet. Contrary to a lot of the literature, we had everybody adhere to the diet. So yes, you can, and it is feasible, and you can do this while you're going through really hard treatment. Now, what we were not able to answer is this efficacious? Did we see an improvement in people's move and function? Yes. People moved a little bit more, they felt better, they had higher quality of life scores, but it was a very small study. There was only 17 patients at one center. So what we have going on right now is a phase 2 multi-center randomized clinical trial looking at plant-based or plant-forward diets, kind of like all of the details that we showed in the previous slides, versus a classic ketogenic diet for newly diagnosed glioblastoma patients within the first 2 weeks. So they cannot be on chemo and radiation for more than 2 weeks before starting the diet. We are only a year and a half into it. So far, we've had pretty great recruitment. It's going on at Cedars Sinai in Los Angeles, UCSF, Duke University, and the Medical College of Wisconsin. And so hopefully in the next few years, we will be able to answer this question. As of right now, we don't know. There is no clinical trial out there that says, yes, you should be doing this. And when we don't have a protocol, everything is very heterogeneous. There are studies that show that people are doing a modified Atkins versus a ketogenic diet versus a low glycemic index diet, or when they started, or if they should do it forever, or should they cycle. So there are so many questions that we still have to answer. I have worked with patients doing keto for over 10 years, and the reason why we did this study was for a patient because he was so adamant and wanted to do it, and I got the funding, and we're trying to figure it out. So I always take the notion of, if you want to try it and you feel better, amazing, that's great, and I love that for you, and I love it for us, but it's not something that I can say with confidence that every single person should do. So we're giving them prescriptions essentially, so like 2-week meal plans, and then they're meeting with the site dietitian every 2 weeks to every month or whatever's in between if they need help. We are tracking their blood glucose and ketones twice a day, and we have a Bluetooth meter, so dietitians are able to log on and see those values and give real time and real feedback, in real time. We don't have meal delivery, unfortunately. We did have that for the pilot study that we did, and that was amazing. The problem is that there aren't a lot of companies out there that are actually delivering keto meals, and I think that's really the problem in mass media as well. It's a lot of very high protein diets and not actually high fat diets, which is what keto actually is. And then just because I have very limited time, I wanted to show you this visual. This is from Beth Zubak-Kania and Denise Potter. They've been in keto therapy for over 35 years, and they've pooled all of the evidence that we have, and these are the studies that are showing promise within using the ketogenic diet, but they're still very small and not randomized clinical trials yet, so we don't have the concrete evidence that we need to make those claims. Any other questions? Go for it in the back. Great question. So if you're on treatment, it's not pasteurized, so I would be really careful because You don't want a foodborne illness while you're going through treatment. It's so gnarly. There's also not a lot of evidence that shows that when you drink kombucha that it actually does colonize in your gut. So I would recommend using more of like the probiotic-rich foods like kefir or yogurt or kimchi or sauerkraut, because it also has the added fiber, which will act as like that mulch to the flowers. Great question. Go for it. Yeah, so like in terms of diet soda, it's one of those things. There are some studies that show that it actually increases your appetite, even though it's calorie free and it's sugar free. But you end up craving carbs and sweets more too. And then with sugar substitutes, there is kind of like a hierarchy of them, but not necessarily. I would say try to limit them as much as possible, but use them sparingly, like you would with regular sugar. So with alcohol, first and foremost, clear it with your neuro-oncologist or oncologist because it does increase your risk for seizures. I'll say too, if you're on treatment, it doesn't taste the same. And I have a lot of people tell me that it's just not as enjoyable or they can get like tipsy very fast. And that's also maybe not so enjoyable if you're on a lot of medications. It's also just like one more thing for your liver to detoxify. But the So American Institute for Cancer Research says that up to 1.5 ounces of like a spirit, a regular 12-ounce beer, or 4 to 5 ounces of wine. You want 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks per day for men. When? Oh. So now we're abstaining. Okay. I mean, listen. Right, exactly. It's like sugar. There's no nutritional value to it. I know that there's a lot of studies with like the Mediterranean diet, but what they're talking about is really like the act of eating together, and that's included with the red wine. Red wine does have resveratrol, but you can get that from red grapes. So I'm of the belief that we want to have, moderation in moderation, right? So you still want to live your life. If you're going to a celebration and you have 1 drink of alcohol, it's not pouring kerosene on the fire, but it's not something that I would recommend having every single day. Online questions, yes.
Dr. Lizzie. Dr. Lizzie. With a frontal lobe tumor that has destroyed her motivation center, how can I, with kindness and positivity, get my partner moving and active?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the balance is not nagging and making it more of something. Maybe it can be something you do together, and not as much of let's go and do this specific exercise, but maybe, hey, let's go on a walk in the woods, or let's go do something active together instead of you need to go exercise because you need to get up off the chair, and having that nagging constantly all it's going to do is create negative influence on somebody. So I would say more of being very subverted in the way that you're doing it and kind.
All right, that's great. And thanks for the question, Giles. Appreciate that. There's just a lot of online questions. So let me throw another one out there to Dr. Lizzie. Is it safe for patients to use a vibration plate for exercise?
Vibration plate for exercise. I'm not sure if there's any, I don't know that there would be any, I'm not sure of what the contraindications would be. Kind of maybe like some grounding. A lot of people, grounding is really good with like rebounding, jumping on the little trampolines and things are really, really great. It also helps with your balance, so that might help with balance issues and some proprioception activities. But otherwise, I'm not super familiar with contraindications.
And then one more, I'm sorry, we don't have time to get to all the questions, but this one is about, if there's no desire to eat, how do I motivate to have an appetite?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all been there before where you don't want to eat and then it just doesn't feel good to have somebody tell you to eat and you have to eat. So for that, I'd say small, frequent meals, things that would stimulate your appetite. I know a lot of people say don't have your favorite foods. Don't have your favorite foods if you're nauseated, but if it's going to motivate you to eat, then have that. Or liquid calories are really easy to get down because you bypass the satiety cues. And then just reminding yourself that it's part of your treatment plan, as hard as it is, and like Lizzie keeps saying, having grace and compassion with yourself because it's hard and nobody wants to eat when they feel gross. So just trying to do things that don't feel as bad, maybe things that are cool or cold or room temperature or have softer textures because you're not, chewing a lot. That's what I would recommend.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you. I think this is all the time that we have for questions. Thank you so much to our speakers, Lizzie and LJ. There's going to be a short break. There's going to be a short break. We certainly encourage you to check out the exhibit booths one last time.